What Happened When Monday is brought to you by OneFMC.com. When you're getting ready to buy your next house, why not deal with somebody you know? Me, Conrad Thompson, and First Family Mortgage, we're happy to hook you up. If you're already a homeowner, well, we can get you a better deal on your current home. If you're in a 30-year loan, what are you waiting for? You're overpaying your single biggest bill, and you may not even realize it. Maybe you've got some debt you'd like to get rid of, a second mortgage, some credit cards. Wouldn't it be nice to get rid of a car payment? We can even show you how to skip your next 2 house payments. But maybe best of all, you don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket to do this. If we can't save you money, we won't waste your time. Call the number one best in business. Call First Family Mortgage right now at 888-425-0105. Check us out online and get a quick quote right now at onefmc.com. Although I'm here in Huntsville, we're licensed in 21 states. I'd be happy to help you save some money. And if you've got any questions, message me directly on Twitter at Hey It's Conrad, NMLS number 65084.
This is the MLW Radio Network.
Welcome to WHW Monday. Tony Schiavone and Conrad Thompson talking about the great years of World Championship Wrestling, the NWA, and Jim Crockett Promotions. And now let's go to the ring. Here's your co-host. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to What Happened When with the Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Tony Schiavone. Tony, what's going on, man? How are you?
Hello, my good friend, Conrad Thompson. And hello, slapdicks all around the world. Good to be talking to you once again. Very excited about bringing you another edition of What Happened When with Tony Schiavone and Conrad Thompson. Let me say the new graphics on MLW Radio says... What Happened When with Tony Schiavone, but it should be with Tony Schiavone and Conrad Thompson. But anytime we try to give Conrad some props, he denies. He turns us down. So there you go.
Well, because here's the deal, man. People are tuning in to hear you. I'm just a slapdick tag-along.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to say bullshit right off the bat. Bullshit. People tune in to hear you, too. As much as you'd like to deny it, your years with doing this with Bruce and with the Nature Boy Ric Flair and now with me have made you a star too. So I know you want to stay in the background. Bullshit.
Well, I know there's something hanging around in the background this week you don't want to talk about, but I ain't scared of shit. Let's just do it. So, Medusa is tweeting about Tony Schiavone and things that may or may not have happened, and I'm sharing screenshots with the whole world that are supposed to be private. I need to know, how am I doing on this Lois Schiavone World Tour 2017?
Yeah, what you're trying to do is, fuck up my marriage.
Well, that's been done long before you knew me.
No, it hasn't. We've been married. Have been married 36 years coming up in June, so you haven't done that. Again, my marriage has survived because I knew how to fucking kayfabe, and most of the boys did not know how to.
Well, now Twitter.
And here we go. Now Lois is prolific online. She's got a Twitter. She's got, but I do need to tell all the slapdicks that Lois ain't gonna follow you because she's really not interested in that stuff, unless, of course, you start sending pictures of me with Deborah and start retweeting the stuff by Medusa. Then she'll perk up and listen. But she knows that I'm just I've always been kind of a little fat, dumbass Italian guy with a Vienna sausage dick that nobody wanted to have sex with. So I love Medusa. Medusa and I have been longtime friends. Medusa and I, when we were on the road, we went to dinner together, went to movies together, hung out. And it goes back. I see. That got your eyebrows up in the air, didn't it? We were just very good friends. And it's like I told you in an earlier segment, I've always been friends with females. And it's not that I was trying to hit on girls, and it's not a Tony Schiavone is a gay thing, which you're trying to also present out there with this Tom Zink stuff. It's just the fact of I love Medusa, absolutely loved her, and I sent her a tweet, and I said I love those. Or send her a text, said I love those tweets, and she just sent me a smiley face, and nothing happened between Medusa and I, with the exception of we have always been very close friends. And let me say this. I think I saw her at WrestleCon. She looked great. Absolutely looked great. It was great seeing her. Now, any other shit you'd like to start here? co-master of ceremonies?
No, I'm just wanting to make sure that, we're telling the story fairly and accurately.
Yeah, telling the story as you see it. That's okay. My marriage will survive. Despite your attempts.
No, I'm not trying to break you guys up. I mean, Lord knows if WCW didn't do it, what fucking chance do I have? But you do have a chance to see Tony Schiavone live and in person. It looks like you've got a big appearance coming up in June, June 10th, 2017 at the Crowne Plaza Hotel in Monroe, New Jersey. The doors are going to open at 8:30, and what are they opening for? Legends of the Ring Pro Wrestling Fan Fest. Your headliners for that event are Christian and Edge. So Edge and Christian, Adam Copeland, Jay Resso. You'll be able to see those guys, Jack Swagger, Beth Phoenix, the Boogeyman, Nydia, Ivan Putski, Rockin' Robin, Alberto Del Rio, Jerry the King Lawler, Ronnie Garvin, Teddy Long, Jake Roberts, Tugboat / Typhoon / Shockmaster, Howard Finkel, Black Bart, Barry Orton, Little Guido, Tracy Smothers, Gail Kim, Corey Graves, Warlord, and more. But most importantly, who's going to be there?
I'm going to be there.
Come on.
Saturday, June 10th for 3 hours.
I'm pretty excited about this. This was not something you were doing with a lot of regularity, but now Tony is all the way back in, and you should be too. If you live in the Northeast, you ought to go check Tony out. It's June 10th at the Crowne Plaza Hotel right there in Monroe, New Jersey. You can pick up your tickets right now at legendsofthering.com. That's legendsofthering.com. Tony would love to see you. He doesn't do these very often, but he did one over WrestleMania weekend, and he looks forward to seeing you on June 10th in Monroe, New Jersey. Out of all the people who are going to be here, are you most excited to see Nydia, Rockin' Robin, Beth Phoenix, Gail Kim? Where are we coming down? Or is it Abdullah the Butcher? You can tell the truth.
Well, I can't wait to see Jerry the King Lawler again. And the Howard Finkel, haven't seen him in quite a while.
Boy, the three of you guys
going to be there, understand. Haven't seen Ronnie in quite a while. Teddy Long, I haven't had a chance to talk to Teddy since he was inducted, very deservedly so, in the WWE Hall of Fame. So there's a lot that I'm looking forward to seeing. I know you threw the women out there at the front trying to entrap me again, but I'm looking forward to seeing all those. And this is my second Legends of the Ring. I did one about 4 years ago. When they had it in October, and it was during a bye week for the Georgia Bulldogs. Go Dogs, by the way. And so I look forward to going back. And also, coming soon in the summer, later in the summer in August, I'll be in Philadelphia. That is, the details have not been worked out for that. But coming up here very soon in June, that is going to be June 10th on a Saturday. Doors open at 8:30. I'll be part of the Legends of the Ring. Look forward to seeing those guys who promoted the event last time. Good guys. It's a good event.
Well, and we're looking forward to today being a good event. We're going to cover Halloween Havoc 1993. This came right down to the wire. A lot of people, myself included, thought that maybe after covering Halloween Havoc 90 and then Halloween Havoc 92, that maybe people would have a flavor for Super Brawl. And Super Brawl 3 almost won, but in the end, Halloween Havoc 93 got the nod. So coming up, we're going to cover Halloween Havoc 93. But before we do, let's talk about last week's show, Halloween Havoc 1992. Spin the wheel, make the deal. We did something a little different, Tony. We had you call the match between Jake the Snake Roberts and Sting. What was the feedback you got from our little social experiment last week?
The feedback was tremendous. Everyone, and not everyone out there, but most out there loved it. And even thought a lot of the feedback that I saw on social media was that we wish Schiavone would have done this back when it really happened. I would have lasted one pay-per-view with that. But, it's something that I've always thought about, not only with wrestling, but with sports in general.
Yeah.
I've always thought that sports, let's say a football game or a basketball game, and of course wrestling at the forefront on a pay-per-view where you can probably say anything you want unless you're working for Turner Broadcasting and they have the asshole about that big, should be able to just say whatever they want to say it, Howard Stern it up. I think people would like that. There would be a lot of people out there that would be quote unquote offended, but those people don't matter anyway, and they know they don't matter. those are the people that don't go to comedy clubs.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the people that have no humor in their life. I always thought that would be a good idea to do that in any sporting event. That would never take hold, I understand. I do realize that. But I always thought it was kind of neat to do it. So I was excited about doing it, and the feedback was great. I think you would agree, Conrad. I think we hit on something there.
And we're going to do it again today. The match we're going to cover today is not going to be the phenomenal main event that we're going to heap praise on in a few minutes with Vader and Cactus Jack. We are going to do it for the open of the show, which is pretty iconic, as well as the Nasty Boys tag team match against Marcus Alexander Bagwell and Too Cold Scorpio. If you watch that pay-per-view this week, you probably have an idea why we picked that one. But before we do any of the silliness, let's talk about the event itself. Halloween Havoc 1993. In the Observer, this got overwhelming thumbs up. 70% with a thumbs up as far as the way the fans voted in the poll. Thumbs down only got 18.7%. Thumbs in the middle, 11.3%. Tony, you watched this show probably for the first time since you saw it live this week. What did you think of the event? Where did you fall with it?
I thought it was 2 big thumbs up. I agree with the Cactus Jack and Vader match, one of the great matches, and a match that, here's how good that was. I remember it even before I watched it again. And we did so many matches again that sometimes they kind of get lost in the shuffle. But I remember that one. I thought Flair and Rude was very, very good. I thought Lord Steven Regal and the British Bulldog for 15 minutes before, God rest his soul, the British Bulldog blew up, was a tremendous match because, to me, Lord Steven Regal is still one of my top 10 performers, maybe top five performers in the ring. And I thought Too Cold Scorpio and Marcus Bagwell had a very entertaining match as well. So a lot of good title matches, and of course the Texas Death Match was phenomenal. It really, really was.
So I'm curious, after seeing a series of these Halloween Havoc shows take place in Philadelphia, this one comes to us from New Orleans. Do you remember what the thinking was as far as moving it out of the Northeast, where you had strong crowds, and now coming here to New Orleans? You guys have 6,000 there, but Dave Meltzer would report that there was roughly half of that paid. What say you? Why would this make more sense in New Orleans than it would Philadelphia?
I say it made more sense in New Orleans because it made sense to take Halloween Havoc, which was one of our top events, and send it around the country. You can't put a price tag on, I think, saying that we're from Philadelphia one year, New Orleans the next.
Right.
Maybe some other. It makes us seem like a company that is nationwide instead of a company that's just locked into a couple venues. I think that's important. And not being a person that was dealing with arena people, I have a feeling the UNO Arena, which looked good on TV, I thought.
Yeah.
Looked great on TV. Gave us a pretty good deal and wanted us there.
Chat me up about the spin the wheel, make the deal concept. Do you remember, I don't know that we touched on this too much last week. Whose idea was this spin the wheel, make the deal concept?
That was Dusty's idea.
And obviously, you know, the match last week that we covered at Halloween Havoc 92 was what it was with a coal miner's glove.
Right.
But it seems like coming out of there, it wasn't very well received by the fans. What did the office think of the way spin the wheel, make the deal was pulled off? Did they think that the concept was a winner? Clearly they had to. They brought it back the next week. It was just a miss in the way that, you know, they chose the coal miner's glove.
Well, here, it wasn't well received. How was it not well received by the people who read the Observer? Was that it?
Hang on.
The people who read the dirt sheets?
Hang on. Are you going to really sit here and defend that coal miner's glove is the match they should have had?
No. I'm trying to defend the concept of spin the wheel, make the deal.
Oh, I love the concept. I'm just saying.
And you say it was kind of lukewarm with the fans, right?
Not the concept, but the fucking match seemed like it was a miss. Are you going to say that was a barn burner last week?
No, it was not a barn burner. It was a miss. And it was And as we were reminded on social media, it came up coal miner's glove match because that's what they had done in the old days with Bill Watts.
Right.
And Bill Watts was running the show back then. It made no sense at all, with the exception of loving the two performers who were in the match. It didn't come off too well.
Well,
the spin the wheel, make the deal is a pretty good concept. And look, it's something different.
I totally agree. I'm not knocking it. I enjoy spin the wheel, make the deal. And I think, I think that match that we covered last week could have been a lot better if it was a different format. But the silly finish is what I still come away thinking about with the snake pretending to bite Jake. That was just a miss. But
yeah, that was a miss.
This year, wow, spin the wheel, make the deal in the main event is hard to beat. It actually wins the best match poll, according to the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Overwhelmingly, people loved Vader Cactus Jack. The worst match poll was Harlem Heat and Equalizer against Train, Norris, and Shockmaster. And Dave opens up the Observer when he recaps this pay-per-view by saying, question, how is it impossible to put together a show where from bell to bell the match quality is the highest of any pay-per-view since February and is topped off by arguably the best match bell to bell of the year in the country, and still it only have a marginal thumbs up? The answer, have Dusty Rhodes book the finishes.
Yeah.
Match quality was very good. The main event was incredible, but had the worst finish of all. Dave continues, I love the show because I thought 7 of the 8 matches were good, which is more than any pay-per-view from either the WWF or WCW in a long time. The work in the main event deserves all the superlatives it's been receiving, but one can't argue with any of the complaints by those who didn't like the show. When you do unrealistic screwjob finishes in every match, then none of them are going to work except in turning fans off from repeat business. He also says the Vader Cactus Jack main event exemplified what is beginning to turn into a dangerous trend in this business. Not disturbing to fans because many fans love matches such as this. It's disturbing because the element of risk and injury is being flirted with too much, too closely when matches get as stiff and legitimately brutal as this and other recent matches have turned out to be. I'm curious, Tony, when we're talking about the way the brutality kind of turns up here, is that, in your opinion, does that start with Vader coming in and really working a different style, maybe a more strong style, a Japanese style, where he's legitimately hitting people? Or is it Cactus Jack taking the big elbow to the concrete, or a combination of both?
It's a combination of both, and a lot of it has to do with using chairs, using tables, Cactus making those incredible bumps and doing things. So it's a combination of both, and I agree with this statement. I think that, and we have seen this now on into this era right now where guys do not have the longevity that the old school guys did, because these guys have to do incredible bumps through chairs and tables and off the top of cages and whatever to try to do something different, to be unique and get the big pop, when the essence of wrestling was not necessarily those big bumps.
Yeah, the whole concept of wrestling is it's supposed to look like it hurts, but not actually hurt. Am I right?
Right.
And they don't really do that in the main event. Vader and Cactus both got blood in this match, and Cactus, it appears, to be busted open hard way. Wouldn't it have been a smarter choice just to go with a razor, Tony?
It's always a smarter choice to go with the razor. As Bobby Heenan once told a bunch of guys, he said, make it look like it hurts. Don't make it hurt, because they can only see it. They can't feel it. Only you can feel it. And it would always been smarter with a razor. That blood that Cactus got was probably a combination of both. Hardway and razor.
Well, it certainly would have been a smarter choice to go with DollarShaveClub.com. Listen up, slapdicks. Here's why DollarShaveClub.com is the smarter choice. You see, you get a great shave at a great price, conveniently delivered right to your door.
That's exactly right. It's so easy, even Conrad can do it. Now Conrad doesn't have to take his fat ass down to the store to buy that cheap disposable razor that gives you that cheap, scratchy shave, or spend a fortune with razors and gimmicky shaving tech that you didn't need. When I use my executive razor there with Dr. Carver's shave butter, and I love that shave butter, by the way, Love my shave butter. The blade just gently glides, giving me such a smooth shave. Smoother than my dreams of Medusa and death.
Dr. Carver's shave butter is transparent for a more precise shave. It'll help prevent the ingrown hairs and fight razor bumps. I wonder how old Klondike Bill felt about razor bumps, Tony.
He didn't give a damn about razor bumps. He just went right through them and loved them and laughed.
Well, now you don't have to do that. You can make a smarter choice by joining the Dollar Shave Club.
Absolutely. For a limited time, new members get their first month of the Executive Razor with a tube of their Dr. Carver's shave butter for only $5 with free shipping. Let me say something about this Executive Razor. This thing is awesome. Absolutely awesome. When I opened up my package and I first became a member of the Shave Club, I opened up the package and thought, man, this is not what I expected. This is a tremendous razor. So you can get that Executive Razor, a tube of the shave butter, which by the way, I love that shave butter, for only $5 with free shipping. After that, razors are just a few bucks a month. In your first month box, you get an awesome weighted handle, full cassette of 4 cartridges, and a tube of their shave butter. After your first month, replacement cartridges will ship automatically at the regular price. No hidden fees, no commitments, and that's so important. No hidden fees, no commitments. Cancel anytime you like. Just join the Dollar Shave Club today at dollarshaveclub.com/Tony. That's dollarshaveclub.com/Tony, and you will be part of the great shave that is the Dollar Shave Club. And also, I want to mention this, Conrad. When you go on their Dollar Shave Club website, you can also get the One Wipe Charlies. Now, this is good for someone like you because these are diaper wipes made for men.
Oh, I love those. I love those.
But here's what are great about the One Wipe Charlies. And I know we all, you're in your 30s. I'm not. And the older you get, sometimes you have accidents. You'll find out one day. But these butt wipes are wonderful. And what makes the One Wipe Charlies great is that minty tingle that gets in your butt that lets you know that you're clean. So when you go to Dollar Shave Club, make sure you get your butt wipes as well. These are called One Wipe Charlies.
Let me ask you, I feel like One Wipe Charlie could have been a tag team partner with Klondike Bill.
He may have been up in Calgary.
It just sounds like a formidable tag team. I'm curious, too, when you say, as you get older, accidents happen, when you saw these tweets from Medusa, were you happy that you had those minty One Wipe Charlies in your back pocket?
Yes, I would have. If when Medusa hugged me at WrestleCon, I would have needed those. I came close to needing those anyway. So
from the front or the back?
The back.
Okay, cool.
What are you trying to say? I know what you're trying to say about the front.
No, I didn't say anything. I was just asking a question. I just want to get the full story out there. That's all.
I know. You know what happens? You and Bruce Pritchard and Court Bauer, you all get together before we do this and you say, we are really going to lead Tony down these paths and fuck his life up.
Hey, you know what? That was a fun commercial for Dollar Shave Club, but I have legitimately been using this for quite a while. I dig it a lot. And one of my favorite things I've heard one of our pro wrestling brethren talk about is the shave butter. And Jim Cornette he is a wordsmith when it comes to describing Dr. Carver's shave butter. Are you familiar with the way he describes it?
I'm not.
Slicker than cum on a gold tooth. If that's not a Jim Cornetteism, I don't know what is.
That is tremendous.
Yeah, I'm not gonna forget that anytime soon. So Halloween Havoc, let's get back to it. We're at the University of New Orleans Lakefront Arena. As we said earlier, the show only draws about 6,000 fans. They had the building set up for 8,500. Only half of that 6,000 actually paid. So even though the gate is much smaller than what they had been drawing on previous pay-per-views, including the most recent Fall Brawl over in Houston, the crowd is pretty lively. And why wouldn't they be? Look at this match we're starting off with. Ice Train, the Shockmaster, and Charlie Norris are going to take on Harlem Heat and the Equalizer. Who's your favorite wrestler in this situation right here, Tony?
In this situation right here would have been Stevie Ray.
Okay, I didn't expect you to give me a legitimate
I know you didn't.
answer.
Stevie Ray and I were pretty good buddies. I miss talking to him. Do you know that Stevie Ray was a gigantic Dale Earnhardt NASCAR fan?
I would have never in a million years guessed that you were about to say that. No.
Yeah, and I used to give him a hard time because I was a Richard Petty fan growing up. And, of course, what made it odd was, and now as we've gone along here in the years, is that NASCAR is not as popular as it used to be. You probably know that. And there weren't any that I knew of NASCAR fans in wrestling except Stevie Ray. And, he also did some matches with me. I think he and I did Worldwide later on down the road. He was always one of my favorite guys. Really liked him. Good guy, funny. He could take a joke. I love people who can take a joke. And I would always give him shit about Dale Earnhardt. And so he's my favorite one there. But here's what I thought about this event? Here's Eric Bischoff dressed up like a Confederate soldier.
How great is that?
Yeah. And here is Charlie Norris dressed up like a dancing Indian. How politically incorrect can you be to start out an event?
Well,
Jeez.
It's pretty fun that Bischoff, who has long said that he kind of felt like WCW had a Southern stain, and he wanted to get it out of the South and not make it so much of a regional promotion and make it a more national promotion, is dressed as a Confederate soldier. And you're, of course, here. You left your lipstick at home, and you dressed as Jesse the Body Ventura. Whose idea would that have been? Was it something you wanted to do as a rib, or was this something that everybody thought would just be fun for TV?
No, it was my idea to do it as a rib. And I think I liked it. After looking at it again, I thought we pulled it off. And, of course, Jesse did a great job of selling it well. Jesse was so easy to work with. My God, was he easy to work with.
One of the things I thought was kind of fun that I didn't remember from the show originally, but when I watched it back this week, Jesse referred to himself, because he's wearing like a doctor's smock or whatever, that like a lab coat situation. He says that he's the busiest gynecologist on Bourbon Street or something to that effect. Is that something he gets approved, or is he just asking forgiveness rather than permission?
Jesse always asks forgiveness. Always. No one ever. No, as long as I've known, and Bobby Heenan was the same way. As long as I've known, Bobby Heenan and Jesse Ventura, especially Jesse, would just do their own thing and ask forgiveness later. And I don't think Jesse ever had to ask forgiveness. I think they love what he did. Let's face it, Jesse Ventura, when Saturday Night's Main Event started, became a cult hero.
Sure.
And it was a big deal for us to have him. It was a big deal for me to work with him.
Let's talk a little bit about the other guys in the match. Of course, everybody knows the Shockmaster. Everybody's really looking forward to us talking about him. Can you tell us anything about Ice Train? Any memories of working with him?
Just a great kid. I thought he was put into a pretty tough situation because of his lack of being able to work. But he was a good guy, good kid, and always was very respectful for the business. Somebody like that, we always had a lot of time for.
Is he? How popular was he with the Nitro girls?
Let's see. There weren't any Nitro girls there in 93 or 90. Were there?
Nice way to pivot there. Okay. Charlie Johnson is also on the squad here, and he's somebody that I didn't really remember that much about, but he's here. And he is in the 6-man tag. He's billed as being 6'7" tall and from the Red Lake Indian Reservation. He was trained by Eddie Sharkey, got started in the business in '89, and then retired in '96. Tell me all about your favorite Charlie Norris match.
I don't have any favorite Charlie Norris matches because I don't remember that much about him, to be honest with you. So I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry to the fans out there that says Schiavone can't remember anything. Bull fucking shit, I can't. Some guys I can't remember. I can't remember everybody. Charlie Norris, I don't remember that much. Is there something about him I should remember?
No, he's just rather forgettable.
Was he popular with the Nitro girls?
I don't recall. I don't think anybody was as popular as Ice Train, but that's just me freestyling a guess.
Wow.
Dave Silva.
What are you trying to say about Ice Train?
I'm not trying to say what you say about Tom Zink. I'll tell you that.
Okay.
The Equalizer. I had to do a double take because I thought, is that Dave Sullivan? I didn't remember him working the Equalizer gimmick. Of course it is. He was trained by Lynn Denton. He's a big boy. You probably remember him more as Dave Sullivan than you do the Equalizer. Do you remember anything about his run as the Equalizer you could share?
I think, I think the Equalizer didn't work for him because he just didn't come across as a real, even though he was a big guy, didn't come across as a real brutal, tough guy that should have had that Equalizer name. I think he made it much better as Dave Sullivan because he legitimately was one of the friendliest guys ever. Everybody loved him.
He won Worst Wrestler of the Year award in the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Awards in 93 and 94 and won the Worst Gimmick in 1994. But by all accounts, a pretty good dude.
Yes, a very good dude.
Also in the match, we see Cole and Kane, that many people probably don't remember, were Stevie Ray and Booker T. And man, how young does Booker T look in this? Of course he should. It's 24 years ago. I'm just saying, wow, Booker T has a baby face here.
Yeah, and you're right, just a kid. You know, when I first saw Harlem Heat, we were at, and Jesse Ventura was with me, we were at Center Stage, and they brought Harlem Heat in with Colonel Robert Parker, and they brought him in the prison gimmicks with like the denim tops on.
Didn't they have chains?
And they had chains. And I remember Jesse Ventura saying to me during the break, he said, Schiavone, and I don't get offended easily, but I'm the only one offended by this plantation owner bringing in these two black guys in chains. And I said, my God, what are they thinking about here? I mean, even back then, we knew it was wrong, and they changed it quickly. But I don't know how in the world we let that go on TV.
I mean, it really is something when you consider that this is a company who was known for their standards and practices department. And now we've got black dudes out here in chains with a plantation owner. He looks like Colonel Sanders. I mean, what the hell?
They got rid of that quickly. I don't know how quickly they got rid of it, but that was, once again, that goes back to WCW just not having good communication skills within the backstage area. That's all that. And of course, as we went along, they became Harlem Heat. They changed their gimmick up, rightfully so. They became a great tag team, and of course, we know what Booker T has become in his wrestling career, one of the greats. So thank goodness we got through that without being shut down.
We're going to talk about Shockmaster a great deal at another point, but behind the scenes, Fred was always a guy who was very well respected by his peers and seemingly got along with everybody. And this was just, a mess.
I know.
Is that fair to say?
What do you do after he falls through the wall? I mean, what do you do? And Dusty, I remember Dusty trying to make him Uncle Fred and make him a goofball and do the best. Let me say this, though, and this probably, maybe it worked to a certain extent, but if you watch that match again, he had the biggest pop.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So the fans kind of, maybe not on a big-time main event scale, but the fans kind of bought into that goofball character that he started to portray. Because to me, that big pop that he got means that they saw him fall through the wall, as the British Bulldog said during that Flair segment. He fell on his arse, I
can't wait.
And then the Uncle Fred was blowing up the balloon and the powder all over him and everything. So they were into it. He got a great pop.
Catch everybody up and I know most people listening will know this, but what was the relationship like in real life with Dusty and Fred?
They were in-laws.
There you go.
Yeah.
I didn't think a lot of people maybe knew that. I mean, I know most do, but I still think a lot of people are out of the loop that,
they were family.
Yeah.
Right.
And, Cody Rhodes' uncle is the Shockmaster. So there you go.
Right.
How's that?
Right. Right.
So here's the deal. This match goes 9 minutes and 45 seconds.
Yeah, isn't another one of his uncles, Jerry Sags?
That's right.
How about that for a crazy family?
I mean, can you imagine the family reunions when you've got Tugboat / the Shockmaster with the American Dream, Stardust, Goldust, and one half of the Nasty Boys?
Right.
And by the way,
all those guys married into a great family. Michelle Runnels is one of our favorites of all time. Fine lady. And so they all married into a very, very good family.
No doubt about it. Super class. 9 minutes, 45 seconds. Eventually, Shockmaster pins one of the members of the Harlem Heat. And he does this after having a bear hug and then falling into a power slam type move, is the way Meltzer describes it. And he says, for the second pay-per-view in a row, the other member of the Harlem Heat was standing right there in front of the finish trying to figure out how to not break up the bear hug with no babyface keeping him from doing so. Much was fine, actually much better than it looked to be on paper, but it looked scary on paper, except when Equalizer was in. Post-match brawl with Shockmaster and Equalizer was awful. 1 star. Overall, I kind of agree with the consensus here. This was the worst match on the card. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, it was. 1 star is about right, but, you can't have every home run.
No.
You can't. I mean, you absolutely cannot, especially with a bunch of guys who are, as we used to say in the business, and I guess they still do, green. You had green guys out there trying to work, and that's what you got. You got basically kind of a clusterfuck. Booker T was not the Booker T that became one of the great stars as of yet. Dave Sullivan was not a great worker. Ice Train was young into the business. Stevie Ray was not, as Stevie could talk. I loved him, had a great look. He wasn't one of the great workers in the world. When you got all those 6 guys together, that's what you're going to get. And it's easy for Dave Meltzer to shit on these guys because, hey, it's funny. But I agree with the 1 star.
Well, we're not shitting on the Shockmaster. We're going to have a lot of fun with that in the future. And it was funny. But I don't know if there's anything funnier than our brand new Blockmaster t-shirt over at ProWrestlingTees.com/WHW. Tony, what's your favorite shirt over at ProWrestlingTees.com/WHW?
I love the Shockmaster Blockmaster shirt. Always love that. I've got a couple of friends. I'd like to say hello to Matt Chazanow, the play-by-play broadcaster of Washington State and the Cougars. He ordered a Schiavone shirt, and I appreciate that. I couldn't believe it. He sent me a picture of it and went, holy shit, you got one. Good job, Matty. And that's that blue shirt, which I wore during the WrestleCon, is one of my favorite shirts. I know you like the belt, the black with the belt sideways, and the air guitar shirt.
Yeah.
But you know what's becoming very popular in the Schiavone family?
What's that?
Lois Rules.
Really?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. My daughter said we should order them, and everybody should wear it on Mother's Day.
Oh, I love that. That's great.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great? And I even had someone order it, and it's say because his wife is named Lois too, so he ordered one. So I appreciate that. So, that's the old Hulk Rules shirt. It says Lois Rules. Lois has never been enshrined in anything except now a T-shirt based on the shit that she gives her husband, which happens on a daily basis. Also, I want to mention the Klondike shirt has been very, very popular. And in making my phone calls to thank people, and I'm behind on these calls. I'm sorry. Baseball season has started. I do make a phone call. If you buy a shirt, order a shirt, I make a phone call, get your number because it's part of when you order it, and I call and thank you for listening to our podcast and getting the shirt. I made a call to a young man named Christopher in Charlotte, North Carolina, just this past week, and I'll be damned if Christopher is not the little Christopher that I remember running around the ballpark. It's more than that, running around the events earlier in the day. That is the grandson of Klondike Bill Solowico.
Oh, my gosh. Is this real?
This is a shoot. I picked it. He said, I'm Christopher. I don't know if you remember me, but I'm Klondike Bill's grandson. And I went, oh, hell yeah, I remember you, Christopher. And I said, you guys not mad at me, are you? He said, no. He said, I absolutely love it. He said his grandmother died in, I think, about 2005. And he says he's the son of Klondike's daughter. And I said, I hope she doesn't listen to this. He said she doesn't, but I tell her all about it, and she just laughs, nods. And so we've not offended the family. We have immortalized Klondike Bill, rightfully so. Christopher Klondike Bill's grandson has a Klondike shirt.
How great is that?
Picture that for a second. That's right. So you can be a part of all that by going to ProWrestlingTees.com/WHW. Now, remember, that's /WHW. That's where you're going to find all those shirts like Lois Rules, the Blockmaster, Conrad Gives Tony Too Much Shit. Is that a shirt yet?
It should be, but it's not.
It should be. And, of course, you can get the Lois Rules shirt. That's at ProWrestlingTees.com/WHW. Christopher, I know you're listening. We appreciate it. Your grandfather, truly one of the great men in wrestling. And Christopher should know this because there's never anyone that's talked badly about Klondike Bill.
No, even on this show, we're having a lot of fun, but it's all good-humored stuff, good-natured stuff. Everybody has a lot of respect for all the work that Klondike Bill did and his contributions to the business. But we don't respect Tony Schiavone, which is why this show
Apparently
is
not.
fun. Yeah.
Apparently not.
The next match on the card for Halloween
But you know
Havoc,
what? Medusa does. Deborah McMichael does.
I think they like you because they feel like your button on a fur coat is very non-threatening.
You're exactly right.
I mean,
I have to agree with that. I have to agree with that, you turd.
You know how like when you're talking to a baby or a dog, and everybody does this, and you don't know why, but you use like this different voice. You're like, "You want to go outside?"
Yeah, right.
Who's a big boy? I feel like they would use that when they were talking to your button on a fur coat. Look at him. Isn't he cute? I just want to pet him and love him and hug him. He's so sweet. He's not going to hurt nobody. He's not going to hurt nobody, is he? He's a good boy. He's a good boy. What the fuck are we doing with our lives, Tony Schiavone? This is a wrestling podcast. What are we doing?
Aren't we talking wrestling?
Well, let's get to it. Paul Orndorff is in the next match, and he's taking on Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Orndorff is filling in for Yoshi Kwan, who blew out his knee about a week and a half prior to the match. And Orndorff and Steamboat go about 18 and a half minutes, but it ends in a count-out when Steamboat is counted out after the Assassin, who for some reason is Paul Orndorff's manager. There's no interview explaining why he's here or any reason given whatsoever. And it's a pretty good match with lots of near falls towards the end when the Assassin loads his mask and headbutts Steamboat, who was then counted out of the ring. So he slides something in the forehead area of his mask, goes up behind Ricky Steamboat, grabs him by the hair, headbutts him directly in the back of the head. Steamboat goes down. Orndorff gets the win by count out. 3.5 stars from Meltzer. Two of the all-time greats here. I guess three. Jody Hamilton, Ricky Steamboat, Paul Orndorff, certainly all Hall of Fame level guys. What'd you think of this match, Tony?
Absolutely loved the match. I think the reason they put the Assassin, Jody was always with us. He was a big part of what's going on. It was the Jody position in WCW like it was the Gorilla position in the WWE. I think I mentioned that on an earlier podcast, but they put him in there probably just for the finish. And again, no interviews to set this up. Nothing to logically say that Jody Hamilton is out with Paul Orndorff, with the exception of, in our mind, we knew that Jody and Paul were big guys at the power plant, or just starting the power plant at that time. And it was both guys sold great. Both was really, really good. I know Meltzer calls it a lame finish. I'd like to say that you can have a 1-2-3 finish in every one, but do you really need it?
Right.
Do you really, really need it? I think that the sight with the Assassin in the ring holding Paul Orndorff's arm up and Orndorff could barely stand, to me, and Steamboat being counted out because of that, is a pretty good little heat getter. It showed that Steamboat got fucked over and Orndorff still got his hand raised. I understand some of these guys like Meltzer, they always want 1-2-3s. I don't think it needed a 1-2-3 in this match. I think it worked out fine. I loved it. I agree. Hall of Famers pushing it and having a great match.
Another great match is on deck for Lord Steven Regal, who is, and this is something I didn't realize at the time because, I was just a kid watching this stuff, but I did not realize that his second here was Bill Dundee. It was years later until I realized that is who accompanied Lord Steven Regal to the ring. And he's going to take on Davey Boy Smith, the British Bulldog. These guys go to a 15-minute draw, so Regal winds up retaining the WCW television title. Meltzer writes, they worked a European style early, which was really good, as Smith was did a lot more and a lot different maneuvers than he usually does. He's actually quite agile for his weight, and in a lot of matches never shows it. Regal was great doing the mat wrestling, although fans in this country really don't comprehend what he's doing. The finish was supposed to be Smith doing a power slam at the bell. However, the timekeeper told them they had 10 seconds left when Smith picked Regal up for the move, but then later announced 20 seconds left over the house mic, so Regal had to kick out. They improvised the pile driver at the bell near fall. So they go with he does a finishing move, 1, 2, the bell rang, we're out of time. And usually they do some fudging on that. But I felt like even here with the miscue of the power slam and them having to improvise the pile driver, this was done pretty damn well. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, it was. And one of the reasons it was done pretty damn well is because Pee Wee Anderson was a hell of a referee. And if you'll notice, he kind of fudged and kind of circled around them and then dove over them.
Yep.
Just that little thing gave him a chance to do that false 1-2 arm down. At
the exact right time. Pee Wee Anderson doesn't get the credit that he deserves there. Obviously, the guys did a great job improvising, but so many referees are not really in tune with the time. And, man, Pee Wee was right on it right there. This was done really, really well. A lot of times you see one of these, we're out of time, and there's, some fudging with the timing. There's no fudging here. They nailed it. And the match was pretty fun, especially considering that you get to see Regal doing maybe what he's best at, and that's the mat wrestling that made him so unique. Meltzer gave it 2 3/4 stars. I really dug this match. This is a string of good matches so far, at least for me, after Orndorff and Steamboat. It feels like we're picking up some steam. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, I would agree. I mentioned earlier in this podcast that Davey Boy Smith had kind of blown up. He had, he was wheezing and breathing heavy, but he was in there with as you said, a tremendous mat wrestler, and Steven Regal, and let's face it, Davey Boy Smith and the British Bulldogs were he and Dynamite Kid were tremendous as a tag team. Dynamite Kid was one of the great workers ever, great high flyers ever. So we had Davey Boy Smith, who was a big star, and Lord Steven Regal, who today is one of my favorites. I talked to Regal this past week again. We stay in communication almost a weekly basis. And I told him I watched this match. And he, you know what he told me, what Regal told me?
What's that?
Regal said, I never watch any of my old stuff.
Really?
And I said, why not? He said, because I back then I could do a lot of things that I can't do now, and so it bugs me. So he said, I never watch any of my old stuff. And I said, you should, because some of your stuff is the greatest ever. It really, really is. And I also stay in touch with Regal so he can text me his jokes, which are the best. A lot of love for Lord Steven Regal.
Well, a lot of love for the next match, too, which is the natural Dustin Rhodes, who is in his full natural garb here. They have just changed his music to where he has really iconic WCW level music, and his gear here, man, it is so different from what you're familiar with from all of his years now as Goldust. And he's going to be retaining the U.S. title here against stunning Steve Austin. A few years later, these guys will be Goldust and Stone Cold. But here, it's the natural and stunning Steve. They go about 14 and a half minutes. And the graphic lists Austin as being managed by Colonel Rob Parker. But Parker's not with him. So the graphic was about 2 weeks ahead of time.
Yes, it was. No one double-checked that, did they?
Which I found hilarious. By normal standards, this was a good match, Meltzer says, but the heat was lacking, and these two had a tons better pay-per-view match more than a year ago. After several near falls, Austin got a pin with his feet on the ropes. Nick Patrick ordered the match to continue as Austin went to look for the belt. Rhodes schoolboyed him for the pin, but after the match, Austin hit Rhodes with the belt, and Rhodes juiced. 2 3/4 stars here. 2 surefire Hall of Famers here. Maybe one of the more classic matches that you don't hear very much about. I know the finish was a little screwy, But in the end, I enjoyed this just because of the nostalgia of seeing the natural and stunning Steve. What say you?
I agree. I love the match. I love both performers. But, let me tell you about watching stunning Steve Austin. Every time I see stunning Steve Austin wrestle as a member of the Hollywood Blondes or stunning Steve, I get pissed off.
Why's that?
I get pissed off that we fucked up a great wrestler, and he became such the icon, Stone Cold. I mean, that was we shit the bed with that one. We absolutely Stone Cold Steve Austin became one of the great stars of all time. Would you agree?
Oh, no doubt, the biggest star the business ever had. He and Hulk Hogan, to me, are the tippy top of the scale.
So what we did, we called him Stunning Steve from Hollywood. See, we really missed the boat with this guy. Really missed the boat. Now, you can't always hit a home run coming up with a gimmick or coming up with that. But, sometimes you got to sit down with a guy like Steve Austin and say, what type of guy are you? There is a moment in this match when the fan gets up and says something to him. If you go back and look at this match, and he has something to say to the fan, which almost sounded like a Stone Cold promo.
Right.
I don't know why we didn't pick up on that. So that's my feeling about that. Steve Austin, one of the great performers, and we made him from Hollywood, California.
If you haven't already, I want to encourage you to go ahead and pull up the WWE Network and pull up Halloween Havoc 1993. We are going to have some fun at the end of this show with the opening of the show. And I know a lot of you are wondering, why'd you skip that? We didn't. We're going to cover it. And we're also going to give you some play-by-play for the Nasty Boys match, which is next. But we're going to skip it so we can close the show out with us doing silly commentary again. So if you're into that, stay tuned. If not, well, you're not going to get your Nasty Boys recap. We're going to move along to the next match, which is Sting. And he pins Sid Vicious after about 10.5 minutes. And the concept here is there's no belt on the line, but this is to decide who is the franchise of WCW. I found this interesting because of all the elaborate gimmicks and outfits and attire that Sting has worn through his career, he wears a denim jacket here with sequins on it that just felt super indie wrestler. And I know it's just a moment in time because denim jackets were really popular here. But the other thing that stuck out in watching this match is how over with the crowd the phrase is, "Whoop, there it is."
Yeah, it was that. I thought the same thing. It was that time in history, right?
I mean, it doesn't age well at all, but that really was a big deal once upon a time. And man, the crowd is into it just for the sake of being into it. Yeah. Vicious is into this match too. He's actually selling a lot early, and then they brawl into the crowd. Eventually, Sting gets distracted by Parker, and Vicious gives him a choke slam to gain the advantage and regain control. He uses a chair shot and then drops Sting throat first on the guardrail. At this point, the fans even start to chant Sid, Sid, and the announcers are saying that the chants are for Sting because you guys just like to fuck with us. Then Vicious slows it down, does some long bear hugs. Sting comes back with a couple of stinger splashes, and at this point, Colonel Robert Parker grabs a couple of legs and then eventually just one leg. And he thinks it's Sting, because he's not looking, of course. He's just pulling as hard as he can by turning his head the other way, as only he can in professional wrestling. It's actually Sid's leg that he's holding on to. And Sting has Sid pinned, but somehow Sid manages to kick out of the pin and then picks up Colonel Robert Parker by the hair. They start to argue. Sting comes from behind, does the reverse cradle, 2 3/4 stars. So Sid takes the L, but doesn't look weak in doing so. And this is actually probably a better match than the one they worked at Halloween Havoc 1990, 3 years prior. Right. But I still prefer that one, I think, just because I really enjoyed the fake Sting angle that so many people didn't like. What did you think of this version of Sting and Sid?
I like this one better. The fake Sting angle to me sounds good. But our execution of it, I thought, was poor. We talked about that on an earlier episode because we missed the shot. I like this one. And the reason I like this one is because I thought that Robert Parker did a great job of reacting to grabbing the wrong leg and in the ring and trying to explain to Sid what he was doing. You know, Robert Fuller, one of the great workers in our business, he was tremendous. I thought maybe that Sting should have slammed him or something, and he just kind of walked away, which kind of surprised me. But I like this because, again, it didn't make Sid look weak.
Right.
It made him look strong. Both guys performed very, very well. And Robert Parker's reaction when he had the wrong leg, when Sid said, "You got my leg," was priceless. Absolutely priceless. I liked it a lot better than the fake Sting one.
If you're the button on a fur coat, what's Robert Fuller?
He is the snap into it Slim Jim.
You ever see that thing in live action?
No, I did not.
Bruce Pritchard says it has a knee in it.
Does it? Although Robert Parker and I roomed together one time.
Did you jump rope in there?
I couldn't get my fat ass up high enough. We were on a West Coast trip, and we were all riding together. And for some reason, I got a suite with like 2 or 3 rooms, and I said, just take one of the rooms, and so we roomed together. You're trying to say that he is like kind of like a Ric Flair or Terry Taylor or something like that, or Ice Train.
No, I'm not saying any. I don't know that. I just
I know that.
See,
so you throw out these things and you go, I don't know. I don't
know what this means exactly, but somebody told me that the difference between you and Colonel Robert Parker would be that you would walk up and put it in, and that he would put it in and walk up. I don't know what that means, but
I don't know what it means either.
That's what they said. Rick Rude is out next, and he comes out after you guys spend a few minutes fumbling over an explanation that after saying the gold belt was not a world title, now it is a world title because the board of directors internationally, which is a group of promoters internationally, they decided to recognize this gold belt as now the big gold belt, and it is the world title. What a fucking explanation this is.
So you know what? You know what we should have done? We should have got your slap ass and Dave Meltzer's slap ass and sit down there and try to explain it yourself.
Well, no, what I'm saying is it doesn't feel like I'm not saying you did a poor job. I'm saying WCW, hey, it's the world title. No, it's not. Hey, yes, it is. Never mind.
Yeah,
okay,
I know. It's all fucked up. I think we're just glad that Flair's back and we got the gold belt back.
Yeah.
Right?
So now Rude is here, and he's officially re-recognized as the World Heavyweight Champion, and he beats Ric Flair by disqualification after about 19 and a half minutes. They had 2 referees for this match, one of which was Cock-a-Doodle-Doo Man himself, Terry Taylor, who I guess is supposed to be turning babyface. He does a promo beforehand that is maybe one of the worst promos in the history of wrestling pay-per-view, at least in my opinion. And he says, I've done bad things in the past, but I might do good things today. I'm going to make an unpopular decision or a popular decision. I don't know. I'm just going to call it down the middle. And it just fucking makes no sense.
Yeah, cock-a-fucking-doodle-doo. Go on with your gimmick.
Earlier in the show, an announcement was made that they reinstated this. So now we're ready. And this was a lot better than last month's match, according to Dave Meltzer. He thought it was very good, with Flair doing very little of his normal routine. But he says this was the worst finish thus far in the show. Of course, normally in a standard Flair match, you get the figure 4 several minutes in, halfway or later. You get it just a couple of minutes in here. So he's working a much different style here. And I thought this was a pretty fun match. I know that Rick has not always talked glowingly about working with Rude, but I thought this was a fun one, and I really enjoyed his presentation here. This is made to feel like a big deal. Flair comes out as the challenger and has pyro, and then Rude, of course, does his normal shtick, but his tights have Fifi on one side and Flair on the other, and Trick or Treat on the back. I mean, it's everything you enjoy about Rick Rude and these tights. Eventually, they do a couple of ref bumps, and Rude pulls out a foreign object, but Flair back suplexes him, and the object goes flying. I found this interesting. A photographer is at ringside and doesn't necessarily realize what's going on and grabs the object, which maybe, messed with the finish a little bit. The photographer then has to give the object back to Flair. so he can use it and then get caught by Randy Anderson for the DQ. After the match, Rude tries to kidnap Fifi, and Flair grabs the belt, but then Flair tackles him on the ramp and goes for the figure 4 on the ramp. They're broken up by officials, and Rude grabs his belt back, but Fifi is back with Rick. And in real life, of course, everybody knows that Fifi, real name Wendy, is with Rick now, and they live together in the suburbs of Atlanta. This is a fun match, I thought. 3 1/4 stars, according to Meltzer. What say you, Tony Schiavone?
I think it was a fun match, too. Let me ask you this question before I get into it a little bit. Why has Flair, and you've known Flair, obviously you did a podcast with him, why did he not always speak on glowing terms about working with Rick Rude?
He thought that, I guess there's two schools of thought here. Supposedly, Flair and Rude had real-life issues, and they got near blows multiple times, and there was lots of unrest on Rude's side where he thought that Flair was holding him down and that Flair was not allowing him to have the run he wanted to have, holding the belt hostage, having a gun in the trunk, lots of craziness that Bischoff was involved with too. But Flair says that nobody wanted to work with Rude, that he had what the code in wrestling is demons. Let's just call it like it is. He was drug-addled at the time and was not clear-headed and was difficult to work with and was on edge and would snap and just was not easy to do business with. And
all right, I get it.
Flair did not want to do business with him at all.
Okay. I understand all that. That being said, and of course, Ric Flair, as you know, every match that he was in at this part in his career, even way before that, Ric Flair called the match. I thought the match was set up perfectly. I agree that the finish was shitty, but I thought the fact that Ric Flair went to the leg with a figure 4 early,
it was great.
Worked on the leg, and Rude did a great job of selling the leg the entire time. Told a great story that we could tell as announcers. We could talk about, he's going up top, but that leg is damaged. Is this a good move or not? And then he would go down, he would go up top, and he would sell the leg again. I thought the match was set up perfectly. I thought the match was executed, did a great job of executing the match. And again, I agree the finish was bad, but I love the match. Absolutely loved it. And it's terrible that Rick and Rude did not get along. Flair and Rude did not get along because the two could work together.
Oh, for sure.
And this was a perfect example of it.
Yeah, I think it's one of the more underrated matches of Rick Rude's career. I really enjoy seeing him with the big gold belt. A lot of people argue that he probably should have been world champion for the WWF, but of course at that time there weren't heel champions, at least for very long. But man, he looked appropriate with that big gold belt around his waist here. And now he's, of course, taking his rightful spot in the Hall of Fame. Up next, though, is a Hall of Fame level match, man. Big Van Vader taking on Cactus Jack. Earlier in the show, we saw Vader come out and spin the wheel with Harley Race, and it lands on a Texas death match. And here they're going to use the old-style death match rules, which means falls don't count, and it continues until one man can't answer the bell after a 30-second rest period. Meltzer writes, they also added a falls count anywhere stipulation to those traditional deathmatch rules. And he says that you opened the match repeating that Cactus Jack had lost his memory, etc.
Yeah.
But they kind of had forgotten all about that in the storyline build here. And he takes you to task and says, don't they follow their own television? Do you have a response to Mr. Meltzer on that?
No, I have no response.
This is an incredible match marred by an incredibly bad finish, Dave writes. Harley Race shot Jack with a stun gun so he couldn't get up from the 10 count. What's next? A straight edge razor, a switchblade, and finally a 44 Magnum. This was the most brutal of the three matches, which is saying a lot, and probably the best pay-per-view match either has had, which is saying even more. Both men took brutal head-on chair shots without blocking. Both were covered in blood. Jack was opened up by Vader's continual punches around the eye, and it looked to be hard way. They were suplexing one another on the ramp and on the floor, and at one point they brawled onto the stage, and it was made up to look like a graveyard, and underneath a tombstone, they went downstairs. Vader came up from there bloody. Jack hit him with a stiff clothesline and got the first fall on the ramp at about 5.5 minutes. Then he did an elbow drop off the ramp onto the concrete floor and got a second pinfall at 28 seconds. They got back in the ring, and Jack threw Vader into a table for another near fall. He tried a sunset flip off the apron onto the floor. Process that. Vader didn't go over and tried to sit on Jack, but Jack moved. So then Jack moves Vader onto the guardrail and over. Eventually, he tries a flip splash over the guardrail, but Vader moves. He crashes into the concrete again. And then Vader throws Jack back over the guardrail, hits him with that rusty steel chair. They get back in the ring. Vader goes for a third fall with a moonsault. That's right, a moonsault. And that happens after about 4.5 minutes. And then Vader crashes Jack on the ramp. I want you to really process this. Mick Foley wrote about in his book that he wanted out of the business, and he wanted to cash in on a Lloyd's of London policy. And he had planned to take a bump so horrific and so devastating that he would finally be able to cash in on this Lloyd's of London policy and just get paid to sit at home and be with his family and just put all of this behind him because he was unhappy in WCW and the uncertainty of what was going to happen with his contract. So they plan a spot where the over 400-pound Vader has Cactus Jack on his back, almost like he was giving him a piggyback ride. He walks down the ramp that connected to the ring and the entrance, and then just throws all of his weight, almost as if Vader's trying to take a flat back bump himself on the ramp. But instead of hitting the ramp, he's on. So you've got nearly 700 pounds with 400 pounds on top of you going splat on the ramp. And it takes Jack's breath away, and he is hurt, but he's not hurt so bad that he feels like he can cash in. So he continues the match and his career. But that was the original plan, which is really saying something.
Yeah, it is. It's saying how unhappy he was. That was the bump of the night.
No doubt
There's
about
no question.
it. No doubt about it. I showed my daughter that, and I said, hey, you'll never see this ever again. Take a look at this. And every other time we saw it in the future, whether it was Bam Bam Bigelow and Taz and ECW or anywhere else, there was always some sort of gimmick where they would go, through the ring, or they would, something like that. But there would never just be, no, he's just going to really splat right here. After that, Vader starts swinging a chair like a baseball bat. This is that old rusty steel chair. And then he hits a DDT on a chair and gets a pin. Jack gets up and DDTs Vader on the chair to score a pin. But during the rest period, this is where Harley Race shoots Cactus Jack with the stun gun. Jack gets right up after losing and gave Race a double-arm DDT on the ramp. But Race got up very quickly and walked away. Meltzer writes, if you didn't buy this pay-per-view, you really owe it to yourself to get a tape to see this match. 4 3/4 stars. One of the more brutal matches. I mean, I know we talked a lot about the squash on the ramp, but they do a suplex on the ramp and then a back suplex on the ramp. The idea that Vader goes from inside the ring over the ropes and just takes a regular traditional vertical suplex onto the ramp at his weight was incredible to me.
Well, we know that Cactus Jack would do crazy things. We've often known that, and he's become a legend because of it. And obviously, his body has suffered because of it here in later years. But as snug and as tough as Vader was, he was one of, at his prime, one of the great big men in the business. I mean, his shit was real. It goes back to this. I talked to Magnum TA years ago, and Magnum was and I may have brought this up on a podcast, Magnum was a wrestling fan growing up in Virginia, just like I was. And he talked about the hook in wrestling. There was always the hook back then. The hook is gone now, but the hook back then was you would go to a wrestling event and you would watch, let's say, 5-6 matches, and you would say, yeah, that one's bullshit. That one's bullshit. That one's not real. But that guy, he's legit. And that's what you thought about Vader. All this other shit was bullshit, maybe, but that guy was always legit. And that's the way he was. That's the way he worked. And obviously people suffered because of it. But phenomenal match. One thing I remember about this match more than any, it's on a personal note, and I even mentioned it in the commentary. They were bloody, both of them. They came over to our corner and started wailing away on each other, and Jesse and I got covered in blood. And I mentioned this on the broadcast. I had sunglasses on. Blood came down inside the sunglasses and got in my eyes.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. And I was thinking, this was 1993. I was thinking, man, I need to probably get a HIV test. Not to say that any of those guys had AIDS, but that was the fear back then about tainted blood. And we had to wipe down a little bit. So one of my most memorable matches calling ever in WCW. Cactus could take incredible bumps. The story about Lloyd's in London is something else. But Vader could dish out the punishment. And I agree that one where he landed on his back on the ramp was one of the great bumps of all time, really.
The elbow, off the ramp to the concrete floor, the Vader moonsault, the chair shots. I mean, this is just, and some of the punches that Vader's throwing here, it's obvious that the plan was to get Color the hard way. But these are not working punches. He's punching the shit out of him.
That's right. And that's why that's why I said there was always the hook.
Yeah.
Vader was like, Vader was, I talked to Leon at WrestleCon, and of course his health is not good now. But I got to thinking about some of the shit that he did, man. Whew. He was legit.
Go out of your way if you haven't already to watch this match. It is it's worth going out of your way. Meltzer would write a couple of weeks later, it appears that Halloween Havoc did the same buy rate in the .5 neighborhood the past few WCW shows have done. So to this point, the more frequent shows haven't adversely affected the buy rate. The break-even is said to be about .35. If Battle Bowl can maintain that number with close proximity to Survivor Series, that would seem to indicate the WCW fan base is willing to support more frequent pay-per-view shows, although my belief is Battle Bowl is the show that is going to take it on the chin. I'm sure we'll cover that in the future, but of course WCW did start covering more pay-per-views, and right after Halloween Havoc, most of the big names for the company left for a European swing from October 26th through November 7th. And I'm sure we'll cover it in great detail at some point in the future. But while they're in Europe on that tour, that's where we got the now infamous Sid Vicious, Arn Anderson brawl that involved some scissors in England. Were you there on that European tour, Tony?
I was not on the European tour. I had gone on some European tours. I was not on that one. But, there had been, throughout the years, things happen on European tours with the boys. And I was on the European tour where Coco Beware broke the WWE in Belgium, broke the whiskey bottle. They would always get over there and kind of get, stir crazy. The language was different, right? And the guys just felt kind of boxed in. So a lot of times on the road in Europe, tempers would flare. And I was not there with this famous, and we've also had someone online want me to talk about it. I was not there, but I can tell you, Arn Anderson, to get that mad, had to be pretty well soused and pretty pissed off, because he's a pretty level-headed guy.
Absolutely. We'll talk about it, I'm sure, when we do a profile on Sid or Arn Anderson and what all was written in the Observer. But now, let's finish on a high note. You guys wanted us to do more of this, well, we're going to do it right now for you. Fire up your WWE Network. We're going to open the show with Halloween Havoc 1993. Right at the very beginning, you'll go ahead and want to watch along with us. Of course, in this segment, we're going to see the famous skit that involved Tony Schiavone and the kids who were trick-or-treating. So if you haven't already, fire up your WWE Network. Tony, are you ready?
Conrad, I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. Let's hit play right now.
Well, this thing was shot in Atlanta somewhere, and we had a lot of kids scheduled that day to be there, and a couple of them were my kids. This thing was probably end up shot. Look at this punk. This is really some bad acting for some kids, isn't it? Some shit bad acting. These kids may be in Hollywood right now for all I know.
So none of these kids are yours?
No, none of these are mine. My kids were in a group that never were seen on camera, but they stayed there all night with us. Everybody was on edge this night. Everybody was on edge because it took all night to shoot this motherfucker.
He's going to show you something better than good. He's going to show you something great.
Look, Lois lives in that house.
Look at those rocking chairs up there. Bray Wyatt must have been visiting. Whose house is this?
Lois lives in this house, and as we all know, she's fucking nuts. Look good. They did a great job with this house, didn't they? Looks good.
Do you know, is this someone on staff's house, or is this just a house you guys rented?
House we rented. And now the little punks will walk up and get onto the porch. I love the line. Sister, who brought her? Sisters, what a bore.
Yeah. Who wrote this shit?
I have no idea. You don't need... shut up, you little punk. Neil Pruitt may have wrote this thing. And now...
Here we go.
One of the big scenes that I've been remembered for. And here's something that is a little bit of trivia. I still have that fucking robe. It is still hanging in the closet. Holy shit, look how skinny I am. And she knows how to pronounce my name.
She didn't know how to spell it, that's for sure.
No one does.
So what's that smell, Tony?
That's I just took a big shit.
So it was your something in the oven. It was Lois. She was cooking Blue Apron.
Yes, she was. You know, I wanted to hit that little motherfucker right in the nose.
the little. Yeah, I can just
imagine. Come on in, you little prick. This shot here is one that I kind of freelanced on my own.
What, to jump to the top of the stairs?
No, the smile that you're going to see right here.
Oh yeah, right at the end.
Yeah, that was me.
You about to start playing some records, Klondike Bill style?
Oh, I remember shooting this scene vividly. How many fucking times I have to come down the steps? Holy shit. And then they put this thing on my neck. It took an hour to put it on my neck, and they never did. Look at that fucking nose I got. Arn Anderson once said, you got a big belly and a Bob Hope top nose. Little son of a bitch.
I think I could have passed for this kid's stunt double right here.
You might have been this kid.
How ironic would that be?
Wouldn't it be something? He's probably a big Hollywood star right now, but he was a shitty kid actor.
Oh my gosh, look at you selling the nose.
Huh? Selling the nose. Oh God. Now look at this. Reach. Yeah, they had to take that shot. Pull back that. Oh my God. And look. Holy shit. It's the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Look at that nose. No, wait a minute. It's the Halloween monster.
Oh, God. Whose idea was this? Who put this together?
This was Craig Leathers, Neil Pruitt, a guy named Woody Kearse, and Keith Mitchell all worked on this. Who wrote it, I'm not sure. But you know what? It's stood the test of time, hasn't it?
I got to tell you, I was really hoping that you would have called one of those kids a slap dick. Maybe.
Well, I can't. I would get in trouble for that.
What,
I call him a little motherfucker, little piece of shit. But slap dick is adult only.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
There you go.
There's no such thing as little slap dicks.
Yeah, we all a story about that very quickly. We all had like movie stars had trailers because we knew it would be a long night.
Uh-huh.
And I had my three youngest kids, Chris, who you met recently.
Yeah.
And the twins, and they were so tired. And upset, and we're talking about 2:00 in the morning now, when they finally put them in a group of kids to run across the road trick or treating, and then they never even used them in the shot. It really fucking pissed me off. Not because of me, but because I had my kids there all night. And then, of course, we went on in 1999 to do a movie, Ready to Rumble, and I realized that hanging around doing nothing all fucking day is nothing new in Hollywood. By the time I was walking down those steps, I'd had enough of that night.
So let's go ahead and have everybody skip ahead. Next up, we're going to cover the Nasty Boys, and they're going to be challenging for the tag team titles that at this point are held by Marcus Alexander Bagwell and Too Cold Scorpio. I'm going to have you skip ahead to 1 hour, 25 minutes, and 26 seconds. I'll give you a minute to get there. It's 1 hour, 25 minutes, and 26 seconds. This is going to be a fun match to call simply because it's what everybody really enjoys. Tony going into full-blown announcer mode, but now he can just freestyle and say exactly what he thinks. And when you get to 1 hour and 25 minutes and 26 seconds, you should see a jack-o'-lantern. Let me know when you're ready, Mr. Schiavone.
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right, let's everybody hit play on now. Okay. So here we are.
Halloween Havoc, 1993. Marcus Bagwell, Too Cold Scorpio against the Nasty Boys, and one of my favorites of all time, Missy Hyatt. I thought Lord have mercy. I thought Missy does a great job of playing a scuzzy old nasty girl here. Don't you, Conrad?
I love the way she is portrayed here, and you guys clarify that she is actually, in fact, an escort for the Nasty Boys.
How about that? We might as well have called her a whore, which would have been a bad thing for us to say.
Jesse Ventura even says she looks like she'd be right at home at an escort service.
Yes, she does. I like the gimmick. Love the Nasty Boys. And we talked about earlier that the Nasty Boys had a great match at a Halloween Havoc a few years earlier against the Steiners. Not so sure they're going to have the same match here. And here comes a very handsome Marcus Alexander Bagwell and Too Cold Scorpio. I wonder what happened to Too Cold Scorpio after this. He didn't last with us long. But I guess he started wrestling with Extreme Wrestling and went overseas a little bit. And here's Teddy Long. And Marcus Bagwell looks good, man. Nice looking young man. Oh, shit. Go ahead, say something about that.
What would Jim Barnett think of Marcus Alexander Bagwell?
I think he loved him.
Oh.
I think he absolutely loved him. Marcus from Marietta, Sprayberry High School, so I've known Marcus for quite a while.
What I find interesting here, Tony, is on one side we've got Missy Hyatt, who is a kayfabe escort, and on the other side we've got Marcus Alexander Bagwell, who is a shoot escort. That's right. Bagwell is now a gigolo, a man whore, and he'd be happy to come to your house and let you play with his button on a fur coat anytime.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's a thing. And Too Cold Scorpio and he have heat now. Apparently they did a series of shoot interviews against each other in the more recent years about how they both hated with working with one another. But in the ring, of course, their manager, Hall of Famer Teddy Long. How much money do you think WCW paid Michael Buffer through the years, Mr. Schiavone?
Michael Buffer was the highest paid announcer of WCW that night. Highest paid announcer. And, of course, this was an Eric thing to bring Michael Buffer in. Michael, pretty good guy. Nobody had a problem with him. I don't know if we got our money out of him that we needed. In our effort to make it look legit, right? This made it sound legit. You may recall that Stunning Steve, when Buffer was announced to him, Stunning Steve was like, come on, get to it, because he kind of drug it out a little bit. The Nasty Boys with Missy Hyatt against Too Cold Scorpio and Marcus Alexander Bagwell with Teddy Long in their corner. Well, they just put Teddy in anybody's corner, didn't they?
Yeah, I don't know what the exact plan here was, but I did think it was fun that Alexander Bagwell and Scorpio have a little synchronization routine here. And Bagwell is very early in his wrestling career, having worked some shots there on the independent scene in Georgia, and then coming right into WCW with a good push. Why was he pushed so soon, do you think, Tony?
Because of his look. They were really into that. They wanted good-looking, strong young men. It was all because of the look. There was no question.
Here we go.
All right. Tag team match. Marcus Bagwell and Too Cold Scorpio going at it with Teddy Long, their manager. I found it odd that Teddy didn't even get announced here by Michael Buffer. Yeah, once again, because of how fucked up WCW is. All right, tag team now. And well, you saw this one coming. From the get-go, here they go. Sending both men in and sending both men down. Somebody get Missy off the fucking apron of the ring. Holy shit. But we're going to find out that Missy's on the apron of the ring for a reason, because she's going to get a little part of Marcus Bagwell. Yeah, ooh. 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 Missy, I understand, was a good kisser.
Which one of the 3 dozen boys in the locker room told you that?
Okay. Marcus Bagwell, Too Cold Scorpio here against the Nasty Boys. There was I guess a thought that the Nasty Boys loved to give bumps but didn't like to take them. I'm going to dispute that. We've seen enough of these slapdicks at ringside, so let's go back to the match here. And notice how long it's getting to take to start this match. And you know the reason behind this, don't you?
What's that?
Well, the boys were told you got like 15 minutes. They didn't want to work for 15 minutes. They wanted to fuck around a little bit and then get to work a little bit later. And Jerry Saggs will start against Bagwell. Randy Anderson, the referee, collar and elbow tie up. And right in front of Tony Schiavone, Jesse the Body Ventura. Great start by Jerry Saggs, one of the members of the Rhodes family, as we mentioned earlier in this podcast. And he'll snap-mare him over and then drive in a knee. Missy jumping up and down on the side, boobs are flapping in the wind. And here's Brian Knobbs. One of the craziest guys in the business, by the way. Completely fucking nuts. And he loved it. That he was nuts. That his gimmick was nasty on the outside, but nuts on the inside. Missing Bagwell with a double drop kick, and I'm not so sure he connected with that. Oh, Too Cold Scorpio from the top. Are you going to help me call this match, motherfucker, or are you just going to sit there and look at it?
Saggs takes a rough tumble over to the floor, and now what
you're a color guy.
What we really need is more Missy Hyatt. What is Missy Hyatt gonna do in this match except maybe take her jacket off? Wouldn't that be the biggest high spot in the show so far, Tony?
I think it would, but if she take her jacket off, then something might slip out, and then all of a sudden the attention will be turned away from this match.
Well, I don't think that would hurt anybody's feelings to miss a minute of a Buff Bagwell match.
Yeah.
Scale of 1 to 10. Whoa, there we go.
Oh, what a high-risk maneuver. When I saw this again, I'm thinking, what are they trying to do? Someone could get killed here. I don't know if they rehearsed this spot or talked about it or not, but damn, it looked good, didn't it?
That was a rough fall. It's a shame that they didn't have a flotation device to land on there.
Yeah, well, they didn't land it on Missy. They'd have had one.
They'd have had two.
They'd have had two. Oh, some strategy. I love that I love that strategy. I love when they would talk. What the fuck were they saying?
Look at the haircuts here that we're sporting at Halloween Havoc 1993. Do you reckon that the Nasty Boys paid American dollars for these haircuts?
No, I'm sure they had it done. Back then, by that time, I believe, there was somebody to cut your hair in the back.
Well, I have it on good authority that Marcus Alexander Bagwell was rocking a Flowbee here.
Flowbee?
That's a Flowbee haircut if I've ever seen one.
All right. All right. Very good. And now Too Cold Scorpio. I thought one of the most underrated performers that we had back in the early 90s there. He had a lot of excitement. Look at that move. I don't know what you would call it, but Jim Ross would be able to call it. And there's a single leg takedown into an armbar and reaching out, Too Cold Scorpio, slowing down the momentum here.
That is the weirdest single leg takedown I've ever seen, Tony Schiavone. In Alabama, that looked like a drop toe hold. I thought that was an amateur wrestling move. That was a single leg takedown. But I'm a rookie. I don't know what I'm doing.
You know, who gives a fuck what it was called?
So
one thing that I try to do in this match here, just to let you know, as both men miss, Sags misses, and a double shoulder block, 1, 2, and a false finish. And now all 4 men are in. One thing that I always try to do on these pay-per-views was talk less. If you listen to those, I always thought, Jim Crockett told me this. He said, let the action speak for itself. You don't have to call everything. And I always thought he was right. Fizz, press, 1, 2.
Hypothetically, Tony, how tickled would you be if Buff Bagwell were to give you a Thez press?
Is that a hip toss? That's a hip toss.
That's a hell of a
And a right
hip
hand to the
toss.
head. Left, right, combinations. Some great teamwork here from Too Cold Scorpio and Marcus Bagwell. I thought Marcus became a much better heel than he was a babyface. Wouldn't you agree? Cover. 1, 2, and a 2 count. You know, big mistake here made by WCW in this match. Not because I'm an old creep, but we're not seeing enough shots of Missy.
I was about to say, I need Missy in the frame.
Yeah. There's a lot of boys that said that through the years too. But see where we're not, I mean, we've got a rest hold here, right?
Why aren't we showing Missy right now?
Why not you showing Missy? And of course, again, you know, it's, I understand it's hindsight and it's armchair quarterbacking, but this is when you show Missy. This is when you get the wide shot or the long shot of Missy Hyatt.
You know, I think at this point, if I was looking for a pop in the match, I would just start yelling, "Whoop, there it is!" That seems to have worked for the rest of the card.
Working over in the corner. I wonder who's calling the spots in this thing. Up on top. Oh, he missed that time completely. But a great job by Sags, who even sold it quite well and completely missed that drop kick. Holy shit. Holy shit. Did we sell that in the match? Oh my God. That was as brutal as you'll find. But give it to him, right? Back to the rest hold again. Again, no Missy Hyatt. So we made a mistake here. Great reversal by Too Cold Scorpio.
Do you think Scorpio and Colonel Robert Parker were buddies?
Do you like double team some people? I was not in that club. Okay.
No, we heard all about that in our Q&A.
I was not in the long swinging dick club. Okay. Just to put it bluntly. Up goes Bagwell. Oh my goodness.
What the hell? I think Bagwell's dead.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they missed this one.
Hey,
I don't think Bagwell was supposed to go over the top.
I don't know if that was the plan or not. Yeah. But I know that in just a minute we're going to see what's probably the hardest slap in the history of pro wrestling.
It was tremendous.
God.
Now Bagwell's really pissed off here.
No, he should be. That's the loudest smack of the night in any match anywhere.
Look at his face.
Yeah.
He is legitimately pissed off here.
Well, probably because he's an escort and she didn't leave the money on the dresser. And he's spent.
Bagwell is going through the fact that he just took a hell of a bump off the ring and he needs to sell this, but he wants to kick her ass as well. And a belly-to-back suplex on the floor. I agree. That was a stiff smack. Absolutely. And now, again, and call me an old fucking creep. I know you are. But she makes that great smack, and you need to see her.
Yeah.
You absolutely do.
I feel like Jim Barnett's working the camera here. We're just getting lots of Bagwell shots.
I think Jim Barnett would have dropped the camera by this time, don't you?
Wow.
And would have tried to help Marcus up, don't you?
I don't know.
Speaking of Marcus going up, belly to back suplex, or just a plain old suplex. 1, 2, and a 2 count from Randy Anderson.
I think the Nasty Boys are one of the more underrated tag teams of the era.
No question.
I don't know why so many people sleep on them. I've always enjoyed their matches. I felt like they were underrated.
There's no question. They were big. They were tough. They liked to use the clothesline a lot, which probably they overdid it. You know, if you overdo the clothesline, then the clothesline doesn't mean much, right?
Right.
And they did a lot of that. But now they're working on a part of the body here of Marcus Alexander Bagwell, which is not the part between his legs. And the pickup and the big slam. Yeah, that great slam with force. They a lot of their moves were legit, look legit. And a cover. And a 2 count.
The cameraman on the apron right there, Tony, that we just saw briefly. Who is that?
I'd have to see it again. That might have been Jackie Crockett.
That's what I was hoping you were going to say.
Yeah. The legendary pervert himself, Jackie Crockett. A couple of elbows to the small of the back of Marcus Bagwell. So Bagwell now the one that has been told to sell in this match, and then to make a term that you like, Conrad, the hot tag.
Well, I don't know that I like it as much as Klondike Bill does. Would the Nasty Boys be Klondike Bill's favorite tag team?
He would like them because they were sweaty and dirty and grimy. And that's the way Klondike
likes his men?
Liked his women. Elbow in the back from Sags. See, that is a great move right there. Not only put the elbow, but grind the elbow at the point of attack. Not many did that. So they really, and Nasty, they really tried to portray that in the ring as far as what they did on the outside and their commentary as well. Now here comes the Irish whip in, made famous in Ireland back in 1872 when they used to whip drunks out of the bar. And now they'll pull him to the center of the ring. Now this is where I'd kick him in the dick. But that's not me. He's gonna drop the leg right across the sternum. So you kick him in the dick. Only thing you're going to get is Randy Anderson warning you, right? They won't stop the match.
How
Bagwell doing a great job of selling here, I think. Trying to get up. Was there a tag made? The old referee's got his back turned double team.
No tag made.
No tag made.
Ref still counts.
Yeah, that's good stuff. See, that's heat-getting stuff. And once again, one of the things that made the Nasty Boys a good tag team, a good heel tag team.
Who would have been Missy Hyatt's favorite Nasty Boy? Brian Knobbs, Jerry Sags, or Tony Schiavone?
It would have been probably Brian Knobbs. Why do you always set me up with this bullshit?
Well,
you're trying to make me seem like a whore.
No, we know that you're dick shy, so you're not going to do anything with it.
Okay. Man, pulling on the lower back with the bear hug.
Did you see the shoot interview a few years ago where Missy Hyatt talked about all the wrestlers' penises and showed charts and graphs and rulers?
Are you serious?
Yes, that's real life.
Wow. I haven't seen Missy since I don't know when. But I did get to see her boobs one time by mistake.
And by mistake, you were in the women's room?
Yeah. But she kind of... she had a shirt on and she bent over and they just kind of flopped out. Oh, how about that?
It's worth mentioning that Missy Hyatt let everybody see her boobs. She did a porno site, WrestlingVixens.com, since you've been out of the business, where her and Sonny took turns showing their little round browns off to the world.
Type this in, WrestlingVixen.com? Is that still available?
No, it's not, but you can probably find it in your Google machine.
Oh! Great move by Bagwell. Bagwell doing a great job of selling here. and trying to make the tag to Scorpio. This always was a great part of tag team wrestling.
What's going through Brian Knobbs' head right now in real life?
In real life, I need a fucking drink. And now the tag, but the referee didn't see it. Absolutely not. And the Nasty Boys, this is some just great tag team work. Great job by Bagwell. And then Bagwell still sells, face first, doing a great job.
He's doing his very best Ricky Morton right here.
Absolutely.
Probably.
Look at this. Look how he, on his knees, makes the tag. Great hot tag. And here comes the babyface Fresh. And he completely fucking missed that as well. Jesus. And missed another drop kick. Holy shit. A series of missed moves. And oh, shit. Try something else, Scorpio. Those things are not fucking working, buddy. Into the corner. That's not a bad one. And now Scorpio's going up top. Moonsault. Oh, I always want to say it like that.
Here we go. Here we go.
Okay. All 4 men in the ring and Missy's ass in the camera. Teddy pulling, looking, and trying to look up her dress. She's trying to kick him in the dick. And we've got people fighting on either side. We got Teddy pulling on Missy. Missy's boobs getting ready to fall out. Meanwhile, in the corner of Bigfoot. And here comes Scorpio with his, there goes Missy. Here comes Scorpio with his big finish. His big, oh my goodness. Landed on his knees, but it still looked damn good. But the boot in the head. Referee turns around. Oh my goodness. And a short-lived tag team championship for Two Cold Scorpio and Marcus Alexander Bagwell. And the Nasty Boys reign once again. Pretty good. Oh, Missy is down. Let's pick her up. Gently now, boys. Okay, I'm sure she's been in that position before. And she'll be helped out.
Do you think
the Nasty Boys, the World Tag Team Champs, a very skinny Doug Dillinger, who's become a fat ass since then, helps them off. And we have new World Tag Team Champs. Going to take a look at the replay again. Let's go to Conrad. Conrad.
We almost get the upskirt that Klondike Bill and Tony Schiavone were looking for. Missy takes a hard bump. Scorpio goes up top. He's top heavy, as you know. 450 splash. He's probably done that with Colonel Robert Parker. But in from behind, the boot to the head. Jerry Sags. The same Nasty Boy finish we saw over and over and over. Brian Knobbs finally gets the drink he needs. And Bagwell is pissed. He didn't get paid for tonight's escort work, and he certainly got fucked. So there. I
certainly got fucked.
I got Tony Schiavone on that one. So hypothetically, Mr. Schiavone, how fond do you think Missy Hyatt was of the tag team situation? You think she was a fan of tag teaming?
Yeah, I'm sure she was, from what I heard. Which apparently, if she has embraced that since then.
Yeah, I mean, I think she did a great job with the Nasty Boys and every other team she managed.
Yeah, I liked Missy. You know, Missy did a great job of portraying over the top, the dumb blonde. And I did some things with her.
You did? What things did you do? Spin the bottle?
I did some on-camera work with her.
Really?
And I always enjoyed working with her. I did.
That on-camera work was at WrestlingVixens.com, is that right? You were working
I knew, looking at your fat ass sitting over, I knew as soon as I started down this road that you were going to try to make a right or left turn on that.
I don't remember you
I'm talking about professionally working with Missy Hyatt.
Yeah.
She was fun to work with because she was just, she was
very giving. She's giving.
She would do anything.
Those are the best kinds of girls, especially over at WrestlingVixens.com. And what I found interesting about that, Tony, is, for whatever reason, you weren't featured in any of those videos when you worked with her professionally. Were you working the dark matches? Were you a fluffer on that site?
I was not a fluffer. I'm sure when Marcus Bagwell was and Alex Wright was involved, that Jim Barnett would have let him in a fluffer. But I wasn't a fluffer, just to let you know. And I did some things with I'm not going to start this.
Marcus Alexander Bagwell and the Z-Man Tom Zink, if they were a tag team, would they not be called Tony's Wet Dream?
No. My God. Can I say this? I am having more fun in wrestling than I've ever had before.
And we're having
we're
fun.
talking through all those years of WCW, Jim Crockett Promotions, 1 year in the WWE. I'm just having more fun I've ever had. But, okay. I work with Missy.
Fuck Missy, we're done. Everybody else did. Let's move
I never
along.
did.
No, I didn't mean that. I just mean she was a heel, and everybody would screw her over in the matches. You're confusing.
Right.
I'm not saying you act. We know you're faithful to Lois.
No, you're implying that shit. You always do.
No, she played a ditzy blonde. You played a slapdick announcer with a Vienna sausage, and you know, it is what it is. It's cool.
It is what it is.
You were not featured in that video where she talked about everyone's penis, by the way.
Yeah, because she probably couldn't have found mine.
Well, I did hear that you made a sex tape, but it was a Vine. But that could just be rumor and innuendo. Let's talk about next week's show. We're having a good time, and we hope you are too. We're going to go ahead and throw up a poll. For 1994, we've been going kind of year by year from 90 on, and 94 is up next. Lots of pay-per-views there, so we're only going to be able to pick 4. Let's get us started off. Poll option number 1, Super Brawl 4. We've got the Harlem Heat taking on Thunder and Lightning, Jim Steele and the Equalizer, Terry Taylor and DDP, Johnny B. Bad and Jimmy Garvin, Regal and Arn, and then a match that should be a barn burner, Cactus Jack and Max Payne taking on the Nasty Boys. And then, of course, the Thunder Cage match. That's right, Thunder Cage, Sting, Brian Pillman, and Dustin Rhodes taking on Steve Austin, Rick Rude, and Paul Orndorff. In the main event, Rick Rude and Vader. That's right, Rick Rude and Vader in the main event. Super Brawl 4 is poll option number 1. Poll option number 2 from 1994, Spring Stampede. This time again, we've got a classic match on top with Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat. This one is for the World Heavyweight title. We've also got Vader and the Boss, who you remember as the Big Boss Man. We've got a bunkhouse match with Bunkhouse Buck and Dustin Rhodes. We've got Sting and Rick Rude. We've got Steve Austin and the Great Muta. We've got the Nasty Boys and Cactus Jack and Max Payne, and this is the one you've heard about, the Chicago Street Fight. We've got Steven Regal and Brian Pillman, Johnny B. Bad and DDP. Lots of fun stuff to talk about, including a dark match with Danny Bonaducci and Christopher Knight. You don't want to miss that. It's Spring Stampede 1994. Slamboree 94 is our next one. We've got Steve Austin and Johnny B. Bad, Terry Funk and Tully Blanchard. Wow, how about that? Larry Zbyszko and Lord Steven Regal, Dustin Rhodes and Bunkhouse Buck in a bull rope match. For the world title, we've got Ric Flair and Barry Windham. And then, of course, Cactus Jack and Kevin Sullivan taking on the Nasty Boys. This is a Broad Street bully match. And our main event, we've got the vacant WCW International World Heavyweight Championship on the line when Sting takes on Vader. Poll option number 3 is Slamboree 1994. And now, the one that's probably going to win, the show that put WCW on the map, Bash at the Beach 1994. The main event is Hulk Hogan. He's going to be challenging the world champion Ric Flair for the world title. What a colossal match this was, and what a big moment for WCW. The undercard, pretty fun as well. We've got Paul Roma and Paul Orndorff, pretty wonderful, taking on Cactus Jack and Kevin Sullivan, Ricky Steamboat and Steve Austin, Terry Funk and Bunkhouse Buck taking on Dustin Rhodes and Arn Anderson. Vader taking on the Guardian Angel, yet another gimmick for the Big Boss Man. And in the curtain jerker match, this is how good it is. Steve Regal and Johnny B. Bad. Anytime Steve Regal's in the first match on the card, it's a pretty loaded pay-per-view. Bash at the Beach 94 is poll option number 4. So amongst those 4, Tony, what would you prefer that we cover next week? Bash at the Beach, Slamboree, Spring Stampede, or Super Brawl 4?
Oh, there's no question, Conrad. It's got to be Bash at the Beach.
Yeah, I think Bash at the Beach.
It completely turned us around. WCW was falling on its ass. Eric Bischoff had this grand idea, and that was the beginning of his grand idea. Well, all of a sudden, we're in Orlando, and we've got everybody in their seats. We've got Hulk Hogan. we're going to come out with our biggest buy rate ever. Business changed. This was the beginning of WCW as the fans know it, with the forerunner to Nitro and all this, then the Wrestle Wars that happened in the late 90s. This was the beginning right here.
And you can go ahead and throw your vote down right now at WHW Monday. You'll see all 4 topics right there on Twitter. It's at WHW Monday. And to put that in perspective again, Slamboree 94 drew 4,000 folks in Philadelphia. That was in May. A couple of months later in July, they had 14,000 folks on hand for Bash at the Beach 94. So there it is again, Bash at the Beach 94, Slamboree 94, Spring Stampede 94, and Super Brawl 4. It's all things WCW 1994 next week right here on What Happened When. Follow me on Twitter at Hey It's Conrad. Follow Tony Schiavone at Tony Schiavone 24. And of course, throw down your vote right now at WHW Monday. And we'd love to have your support. Go ahead and cruise on over to ProWrestlingTees.com/WHW. And remember, when you pick up a shirt there, he is going to call and thank you for that shirt. You'll be able to have a conversation with Tony Schiavone all your own. It's almost like a little mini bonus show. Be sure to ask him about his button on a fur coat. Anything else we can plug or promote for you today, Mr. Schiavone?
Absolutely not. I just appreciate everyone listening to this podcast. Hopefully we are going to make it bigger and better as the days and weeks go along. We've had a great time so far. Conrad, I love you. Is Bruce Pritchard going to sue me for that?
Probably.
Fuck him.
We'll see you next week. Tony, it's that time.
It's that time. Ladies and gentlemen, Missy Hyatt has to be helped out of the ring by Conrad Thompson. And she's being hoisted up on the ramp. Walking out. Look at Missy. She can barely stand. She drops to her knees. I don't think she can get up. Oh, my God. Here comes Colonel Robert Parker. He is butt naked. What in the hell is that between his legs? Oh, my God. Conrad is looking. His eyes are bugging out of his head. We gotta go. See you next week on WHW. What Happened When?